There's a lot of sugar cubing.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Audiophile Roundtable. If you're just joining me, you're probably jumping from my live announcement from Rhino High Fidelity. We just found out it's going to be the Doobie Brothers Captain and Me and Herbie Hancock's Crossings. Some are excited, some are not impressed. I guess we'll get everyone's views there. Those happen November 17th as well. I know Patrick already talked to me about that, so I'm sure we'll talk to Pat, get Patrick's 2 bits on this. But I got to introduce someone brand new, guys, to the Audiophile Roundtable. He's to my right, I guess. And this is Jefferson Douglas to Blandia. Now, he's a big tape guy, and we're going to get into that again today. If you want to go down to the whole tape rabbit hole, this is the guy to talk to. He's got a great YouTube channel called, it's To Blandia, correct, Jefferson?
Yes, we're currently masquerading as Solid State Landia because I'm auditioning doing.
And that was the name that I made. It made, didn't I? Solid State Landia.
He's also my neighbor.
And if you guys, oh really?
He lives like 5 minutes away from me.
Oh, yeah. Is he going to get you down the tape rabbit hole at some point then too?
Oh, George has probably forgotten more about tape than I'll know. But
I think George graduated from the tape rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So we'll start off. I mean, this is Audiophile Roundtables. This is the Tuesday edition, sort of the beginning of the week edition. Big news. We just got the announcement. I was with Patrick Milligan. He has announced the 2 Rhino High Fidelity titles. I'm going to start with Patrick. Below me, I need your thoughts. Go for it.
I'm sorry, Steve, did you just say Patrick below me?
This is a G-rated show. Patrick,
this is not the Gordon Sunday stream. Come on, man.
Wow, that was a good one. Well done. Well played.
Okay. So I think everybody knows how I probably feel about this. I have some great original copies of Captain and Me. I have the Speaker's Corner cut by Kevin Gray, Captain and Me. So do I really need another Kevin Gray Captain and Me? Probably not. Again, just like the Van Morrison that Kevin Gray's cut recently. Why, oh, why would you go down this path of like, it was such a buildup and all of a sudden it's like, here, Doobie Brothers Captain and Me. It's like, come on, man. I mean, really, I was like absolutely deflated. I thought, okay, maybe you learned your lesson after the Van Morrison. You do something, more that whets the appetite and I love the Captain and Me. That's probably my favorite Doobie Brothers album. I mean, Dark Eyed Cajun Woman, I'm with you, man. I mean, great. I'm all in. I love that record.
Chat amongst yourself. I think my other stream didn't shut down.
Yeah, I think he's right. I think it's still going. I'm just looking at it right now.
Okay, I'll be right back. Oh, wrong guy. I lost Patrick. Hang on. Where's Patrick? And then there you go. Wyoming Dave, can you shut that off by chance? Can you press end on that?
So one final note on that. So one interesting thing that he did bring up that I thought was very interesting was he said that they only have access to the Sabbath tapes they have in the States. I mean, right. I thought that was very telling at that point. It's like, okay, now I'm not so interested in you doing the Black Sabbath catalog because the tapes that are here, if they're the ones that they did earlier, like Paranoid has the dropouts and War Pigs and is not optimal from what I remember. So my interest in them doing Black Sabbath kind of went down a little bit because they don't even have access to those tapes that are in the UK that Vertigo, NEMS, and whatever, and WWA ended up having.
Well, he didn't say that it was necessarily that he didn't have access to the tapes. What he was saying was that whatever they press Warner's, they can't release in Europe. So it doesn't mean that they couldn't get new copies.
Yeah, I think I thought he actually said that they did not have access to those tapes. I thought I'll have to go back and watch it, but I do believe that he said that.
Sorry,
Jefferson,
someone asked him.
I thought I heard that at the end. Like he said, no, like he clarified. He goes, what it means is we just.
Oh, so I didn't see that at the end. I was just going for what he said. I didn't catch that at the end. I was trying to get on here probably at that point, so I didn't see if he said something at the end. But I mean, I thought I could. I'm pretty sure he said that he could not redo. To get the tapes from the UK, but if you can't get the tapes from the UK, that's
here's what he said. And anyways, just everyone know, I mean, that last stream I shut off, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. It completely is not on right now. What he did say is that they cannot get, it's the copyright issue, so he can only get the Warner tapes because they cannot deal with the UK copyright issues to sell to the North American market. So it has to be the Warner tapes. So I missed what you were saying about that, Patrick. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I said that my interest in it kind of went down a little bit because unless it's Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, they get the US tapes, I'm fine because that's my favorite version. is the U.S. version of Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and probably anything afterwards would be fine. But for like self-titled, Paranoid, Master of Reality, Volume 4, I mean, I'd be down if they had the UK tapes. The US tapes, I'm not that interested personally.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they'll probably do the Black Sabbath just from what he's saying. Because I mean, obviously he's a fan just like us. Just like if he can get Fleetwood Mac, he's going to do Fleetwood Mac. So probably that's stuff that we'll see in the future. Again, it's about negotiating. It's a copyright licensing thing. So I mean, if he gets the Fleetwood or the Black Sabbath self-title, yeah, it's going to be the Warner tapes. Kevin Gray is going to cut them. I'm sure they're still going to sound bloody good, man. What?
So,
Bloody.
Patrick,
Bloody.
That the difference in the Warner and the Vertigo, let's say, aren't those presumably both made from the master? Like the master made the Vertigo copy tapes, the master also made the Warner copy tapes. So
I mean, George, you guys are tape people. How many times has somebody done a bad one-off of
Yeah,
a tape?
but I think what Patrick is saying is that over time, those Warner tapes have proven to have dropouts over time. So if they can't get like a new copy, like they could bake the master and give them a new copy, then that would be great. Or I wouldn't personally want a copy of the Vertigo tapes to be sent to America. I would rather get back to if they aren't the original masters. Patrick's point is right. I remember him saying though at the very end of the thing, he said, no, what it means is that if we make something here, we can't sell it in Europe.
Right.
Not that we can't get the tapes from Europe, but maybe he said that before.
That's what I heard too, George, but I have to go back and listen to be sure.
That would be nice. If they can get the tapes, then in my opinion, totally changes at that point.
Yeah, if they can get they can get those tapes, that'd be great.
But that's my take on those titles. Anybody?
Cool.
Well, that's interesting too. I mean, it was going to be quarterly. Now after January, it's going to be, I guess, bi-monthly. So there's going to be more out there. I mean, it might not just be limited to 5,000.
More chances to be disappointed. Yes.
So, I mean, is everyone disappointed with these titles that were announced today? Like, what do you think, Jefferson?
Captain and me, I'm not even sure what the thought process that was there. I mean, there's so many good reissues that Patrick just mentioned. It was originally done very, very well. I'm also a vintage quadraphonic guy, surround sound. So they just did this Q audio of the Doobie Brothers quad albums 3 years ago, which sound great, and the stereo mixes are fine. So it wouldn't have been my top 12 choices, maybe. The only good thing, but I do love the fact that Rhino gives us the tape box images. So, I'm a sucker for seeing tape boxes, so I love that. So that'll be fun. But yeah, not my favorite title. The Crossings, I think, is good. I think that era of Herbie Hancock's kind of underrepresented, so it's kind of nice to see that. But again, not my first choice.
And that's interesting too. He might not just do one jazz, one rock as well going forward. So that's interesting. I think they're probably looking at sales and saying, okay, how is this selling? Like, how's Jacko selling or whatever last album that came out. I mean, I'm curious. I mean, he's not going to tell us sales numbers, but we know that the Cars was sold out and everything else you can still buy.
That lets you know what people want. I mean, he should have taken a hint from right there and said, okay, the Cars sold out. I mean, so yeah, George should weigh in on this.
George,
I just want to, coming from my experience, and that's not naysaying, it's not a bad thing, it's not a put down, but from a record company like that, the Doobie Brothers are a pretty big act for Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
it's like maybe not now. The Doobie Brothers may not have aged well. It's like he was saying, like Jocko's a deep thing. Jocko's pretty prevalent these days. He aged well. The Doobie Brothers, not so much, but the Doobie Brothers made a lot of money for Warner Brothers, and it's the 50th anniversary of an album that is that kind of beginning of them being huge, right? I mean, everybody kind of knows the Michael McDonald era, and they make fun of it. This is pre that, I think, right? This is pre, I think Taking It to the Streets was the Michael. So you still have that hard edge Doobie Brothers thing where it was like bikers and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not the same vibe with the Doobies anymore. They don't have like the cachet of Steely Dan for some reason. They get kind of scoffed as, but for Warner Brothers, it's a huge act on their label. and to give them a 50th anniversary of a record, like you said, Jefferson, already sounds good, but to try to take it to the next level, like a lot of people are trying to do with these audiophile records, it seems like a no-brainer candidate for a company like Warner Brothers to put this record out. I'm not saying that I'm not saying like this justifies it. I understand the angst of everybody. I actually was like, weird. But I thought about it. It makes sense from their perspective.
But I know you, George. Everyone's shitting on it, so you're going to turn around and go buy it immediately because that's what you do.
Okay, so who's going to order on Friday?
In this case.
Jefferson, are you ordering any of these 2 new titles on Friday?
I am on a hiatus until the end of the month for ordering any records.
Well, I look to your left. That's a $600 tape I'm looking at right there. So I understand.
And therefore you understand the hiatus on buying them.
I get it. Mrs. Jefferson's not happy right now. I understand that. So
I get what George is saying, but if I look at the chat, if I looked at the chat when he announced the cars self-titled, and I looked at the chat when he announced the Captain and Me, it's a night and day difference, man. People were all in from the get-go for the cars, and we were his target audience. Nobody that I look here is like head over heels over this. Nobody.
So when I did
compared to doctors and dentists and bankers, these are enthusiasts, hobbyists, audiophiles.
And these are $39 titles too. It's not, we're talking $150 premium stuff.
I would bet you an 8-hour live stream, George, that it doesn't sell out.
I think a 13-hour live stream really went up on that one.
No, I don't. I don't think so either.
So I wasn't able. I mean, when I'm doing these shows, I wasn't able to catch all the comments during the announcement. I mean, what was the sense of everyone after Patrick announced the doobies? Like, what was everyone saying?
Bad news.
Really?
I got $40 more to spend on something else.
In the chat went bad. I was hoping that he wasn't watching when that happened.
He was watching. Absolutely.
As soon as the Doobie Brothers came up, it was a series of, okay, I'm done now. Maybe the Hancock, but definitely not the Doobies. A couple people went, yay, Doobies, but it was overpowered.
I have the Captain Me. I have the old, I think it's the Nautilus cut. I think it was half-speed cut. Jefferson might know.
The Nautilus isn't great. It's not bad, but I mean,
it's not bad. I've had that for years. I think it sounds fantastic. I really enjoy it. But that's the only one that I have. I mean, will I go out and buy it? I mean, I like the Doobies. I think I take it.
That's my favorite Doobies Brothers album. I mean, if I was going to buy any of them that they were going to do, I would probably buy that one. But because I already got Kevin doing it on Speaker's Corner. I already have it.
Yeah, I'm seeing that a lot. I'm seeing that a lot too. So how long ago did Kevin cut that one for Speaker's Corner? Like how long ago are we talking about?
I don't know, maybe 5-6 years.
Okay.
And again, I'm not saying that it was a good choice. I'm saying I understand the choice by a company like that. It's like if A&M started doing it, one of their first records might be like Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation. And you'd be like, what? That's weird. It was a massive selling record for A&M. Massive. You know what I mean? Like for them, and when it's a 50th anniversary and they have artists and they still have a relationship with them and they still have the catalog and I'm just saying, I'm not, Patrick's right. I don't think it'll sell out.
Well, VQR says Coltrane still hasn't sold out. No way Doobie will sell soon, especially with other audiophile pressings available. So, but I don't think they're not looking to sell out right out of the gate. I think they're looking long term here, from what I can tell from my conversation with Patrick today. This is sort of a marathon, not a sprint thing here, right?
Well, why would you care if you sold it immediately or later if you're only going to press X amount of numbers? I mean, it doesn't matter, does it? I mean, the buzz once the car sold out, that thing just skyrocketed, man. People. How much is
the cars on Discogs now? Like how much?
I don't know. I may even look, but I
mean, look 60, but that was right when the peak of FOMO it just sold out.
So what is it right now? So if someone wanted the cars, I mean, it was $39.95 on the website. Very, pretty available when it first came out. I bet you it's doubled since then on Discogs. If I was to look, would I be right?
Probably. Oh, it's over $100, Michael.
$100. Oh my God. So Leland says moving 5,000 titles over time shouldn't be hard with a solid title. True, and that's what they're doing too. I can't see. Hang on a second. I'll put you solo, Jefferson. Put it back up.
I was just confirming what Patrick said. Last time sold was around 115.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's crept up.
But it's funny because, they only pressed like 10,000 of like the Japanese red wax monos of the 1982 ones. They only pressed 10,000 copies. And you can still get copies of those if you want them every day, any day. So 10,000 is a lot. 10,000 is a big number. You can get records that only had 10,000 pressed easily. I mean, if you have to pay a little bit, pay like $100, but I mean, you can get it.
George?
Well, just remember that number that the cars cost right now means nothing to Warner Brothers.
No, they don't make that money.
And look, here's a story, and I'm not saying that that's Warner's now. I'm not trying to besmirch Warner's as a label. I'm just talking about big labels in general. There was a point where it went from music lovers like Ahmet Erdogan and David Geffen that started labels to corporate bean counting conglomerates. And when it's time to re-release something, it's not like in every label there's an artist going, you know what would really be good? I'm in touch with the VC. What they do is they simply look at a spreadsheet and go, what record sold the most? And is there an anniversary we can exploit? Is there something we can do to kind of, and they don't have, they're out of, I'm not saying Warner's is. I'm just saying, just think about the big industry and, that the people that are making the choices, like the guy that we were talking to, he cares about music, and that's why he's talking to us. But there's a guy with a tie on looking out over Los Angeles, also making decisions about ultimately what's going to happen, and we know that. And it's not going to be based on the vibe.
Nice fingers, Jefferson. John Looper, he says, Steve, can we get Sabbath that will be worth it? I mean, I think that Patrick Milligan, being a music lover like us, if he But I think the question's going to be, and I think George, Patrick talked about it as well. What tape will it be? That whole, I don't want any more tape gate crap or anything like that. But I mean, it's going to be what it's going to be, and I'm sure if Kevin Gray's going to cut it, it's going to sound freaking amazing no matter what. Come on.
Could you highlight Mazzy's comment, please?
Is it up or down a bit?
It's right in the middle of the chat, right?
Where he says you're exactly right.
That one. Because rarely do I agree with Mazzy. But in this case, I totally agree with Mazzy.
What does he say? I can't see it. What does he say?
He says George is exactly right.
That's stuff George doesn't hear very often, so it's
wow.
For George to hear
that. I'm just kidding. It was a joke, and it didn't work, so we can move forward.
Here we go. Here we go. That one there. You wanted that. There you go. Yeah.
And the one right below it, where I get called Gordon. That one's good too.
That's gonna stick too, by the way.
Yeah. Why are you being called Gordon? Is there
because my name is GHBORDN?
Oh, yeah.
I think it's easily seen as Gordon.
I see.
Yes.
Okay.
So
I drinking. So yeah.
I do think Sabbath will come out. I do think it'll happen. I absolutely do. But
are you saying this because you know something, or
no? I don't know because I even asked him live on screen, and he even said,
well, he's not going to answer you on screen, but you talk to these people off screen a lot. So
no, but. He didn't tell me, but I do definitely feel that if we can get Fleetwood Mac self-titled or this stuff, he's going to make it happen. Jefferson,
sorry,
you were wanting to say, you wanted to interject.
I was just talking shit. Sorry, it's like I was just saying to Patrick, he's not going to tell Steve something privately and then Steve turn around and say it publicly.
You can always try, though. You can always try to get someone to slip,
If I know, I can't tell. How's that?
I mean, I'm just trying to see what I can pull out,
All I can say, guys, is that Patrick Milligan, not Patrick Peavethal, is a huge music fan like us. They know, they watch these streams, they see what's the demand is out there as well. They know what we're looking for. That's all I can say. Rewatch my announcement stream again, and I asked him more than once about Sabbath and some of the stuff, and he didn't. I mean, it's pretty much from what I could tell. I mean, I think it will happen. I really do. I'd be shocked if it doesn't.
Yeah.
Why not do the Deep Purple catalog? I mean, that's another. I've brought that up before. Do the Deep Purple catalog, start to finish. I mean, get one cohesive, release, because we've got like the Purple release, we've got the 2018, we've got
Patrick, so viewers right now, what Patrick Milligan said is that they're watching this stuff. So in the comments, put some of the albums you want to see Rhino High Fidelity release. I will mention
Patrick Milligan. I'm looking at you, Deep
Patrick
Purple.
Milligan. So put them in. Patrick will get an email from me for his list, and they can go over that list. Okay, I think that would be helpful.
Speaking of the Herbie title, I think my only problem is that I've been inundated with Herbie Hancock records lately, and why have you been inundated? What's been going on? Well, there's been a bazillion Herbie Hancock releases between Blue Note and other things.
Right.
I've purchased like 5 Herbie Hancock records in like the last year, and I don't know if I want another one, but I get it. It's legit. It's a decent record. It's a good period for Herbie Hancock. But it's like, for me, it's just the wrong timing for me. There's been a lot of Herbie Hancock coming out.
But I think with Rhino High Fidelity, I think what the attraction is, it's cut by Kevin Gray on obviously obviously high quality vinyl from the masters, and it's $39.95. So we're not talking expensive, but you're getting audiophile treatment for $39.95 with the gatefold and the master tape picture, which I know Jefferson is like salivating over.
But even like the 2019 Blue Notes were cut by Kevin Gray, right?
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, and right now,
Speaker's Corner version was cut by Kevin Gray.
Yeah.
I think Kevin Gray did the Speaker's Corner version of Cross.
So as far as I know, Rhino High Fidelity, everything will be cut by Kevin Gray. So if the Sabbath or Fleetwood Mac comes out, it will be a Kevin Gray cut. I think that's they probably have a contract with him, I'd assume, in George or something like that. I don't know.
Are they just mining the Speaker's Corner?
Mastering
titles at
engineer
this
for
point?
hire. I think anybody can ask him to cut a record. I think you could.
Yeah.
I could. We could. Anybody could ask him. Gonna wait.
Here's a question. What are these guys charging? Like, what are the costs to like Chad to hire someone like Kevin Gray or Bernie? Like, how does that work? Tell us about that. I meant to ask you that last show.
That's between them and the client. I would only discuss what I would charge or what I would get paid when I was mastering a lot of records. What they're doing right now is also of a premium, and there's a line, and there's a tight schedule, and there's people fighting for this stuff right now. It's going to be more than you think.
So like a Bernie Grenman cut, like let's say he cut, well, what did he cut? I mean, he's cut all the Steely Dans. Would be charging Chad $2,000 a side, or that would be a reasonable amount or more? Like what would it be?
I would assume more based on.
Wow.
But that's an assumption.
Oh yeah.
It's an assumption on my part.
So I do think Bernie's the highest priced mastering engineer in the world, if I'm not mistaken.
I can only speak for myself.
I hope Brian K. Smith is getting his cut, because he's the best.
At the height of what my schedule of mastering records, which was about 3 or 4, a week, I was getting $1,400 a record, a project.
So $700 a side type of thing.
Well, it was a lot of it was CDs,
Okay.
It was, some of it was, remember in the late 90s, 2000s, when I was mastering the majority of stuff, because I decided to start mastering instead of engineering as much. Right. Mm-hmm. And it was a little more controllable and I could do it, build a room and do it. But a lot of it was mostly CDs, and the vinyl was an afterthought, at that time. So
even the J-pop, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thailand pop. I don't T-pop.
Sorry.
I mean, Grenman's pricing online has nothing to do with what Chad's probably paying to get the Steely Dan. I mean, if Chad basically probably which cut did Chad have to go back 4 or 5 times for? Was that the Pretzel Logic? I mean, that's a lot. You'd have to then charge. Would Bernie not charge again for him to remaster and cut that? So I mean, it adds up.
Yeah, but and also I would say that back in the day, I could also work with an artist around their budget and be happily willing to cut the rate in half if they were struggling, because there was so much work. It wasn't a big deal to kind of say, okay, well, what can you do? Let's work with that. And I always would do that.
Did you ever work for like a point or anything?
No, I've never taken a percentage on a record ever, unless it was my own, and I took 100.
I wonder if Bernie should have taken a percentage of the Thriller. That would have been brilliant. Just like, Jack Nicholson did that for Batman back in '89, right? He took a percentage of the box office.
Yeah, but it was only common for the producer back in the day. It was only common for the producer to get a point, or two, on a record. But
for these audiophile reissue labels, it would make sense for the mastering engineer to say, hey, I'll cut my fees. Give me a 0.5 point or something like that.
And I can tell you this. Quincy Jones took half the publishing on 2 of my songs just for putting his name on the cover.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't just a point. It was, half the songwriting, and I'm not a put down, not trying to start a fight.
Okay. So you had the big announcement, the Captain and Me, Doobie Brothers, Herbie Hancock's Crossings. I'll buy them. Jefferson, are you buying? You can't, you're on hiatus. So you're out. Patrick's out. George Borden. When are you buying one with Doobie, or what are you doing?
I would contemplate I'm not a fan of the Doobies. I honestly, I've had all their records in the past, and I listened to them so much when I was a kid. My parents loved them, so I hated them. You know what I mean? Like your parents play it too much and you go, God, I can't get away from this. But the Herbie Hancock, I probably would think about.
Well, you remember the movie a number of years back with Steve Carell. It was the 40-Year-Old Virgin. And in that they made a joke because they kept replaying a Michael McDonald concert from during that in the store. It was like a Best Buy. Yeah. Oh my God, that's funny. So I was never a big Michael McDonald fan. When he, some of his work, I like him in like Asia and stuff like that with Steely Dan. I mean, it's really in the background. But
I got to give Michael McDonald. I think that Minute by Minute is a really good quality record. I think it goes up there in the audio, whatever you want to call that, high quality status, audiophile, whatever you want to say. It's a really good sounding record. It's as good as a Steely Dan record, sound wise, to me. Just to me, it sounds clean and clear.
It was a lot of them were cut at Monarch, and they sound phenomenal. And, those are great sounding, great sounding. But if you want to see a funny thing about the Doobie Brothers, talking about John Mo Be There, and go to the Yacht Rock. There's the Yacht Rock YouTube series that came out like 10 years ago, and there's one with Steely Dan with James Ingram and Michael McDonald getting drunk doing John Mo Be There, and like and Kenny Loggins is kidnapped by Jimmy Buffett. It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious.
I know, Maz, we do know that Michael McDonald wasn't part of the Captain to Me. We're just talking in general. Yeah. So you want to talk more about these releases, or are we sort of done with it? Are you guys sort of? I mean, it sounds to me you guys are disappointed. And
VQR down there. I would use Salt if I was going to have somebody cut aside right now, and I didn't want to wait in line for Kevin Gray. I would go with Salt and 1400.
So Salt
just to cut it.
Salt's 1400 aside. So I assume that Grunman would probably be double that, or Kevin Gray would be double that price.
Probably $5,000 aside.
It's just their name. Just their name alone is going to help you sell the record. I saw one of the comments there as well. Minute by Minute is the Speaker's Corner. Speaker's Corner, and again, we did a show last week, and I said some of the best titles, $60 and under, that are all analog. Speaker's Corner, their whole catalog is freaking insane. So I mean, pick some of that stuff up. It's great.
A lot of the early stuff was cut by William Mackey too. A lot of the early stuff was cut in Hamburg and sound really, really good.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of it's out of print though, and I'm not sure if it's ever back. Like the Crime of the Century is supposedly.
Yeah, that and I Can't Buy a Thrill and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah, the Speaker's Corner, the Crime of the Century. That's the one it's one of my Grail picks, but I'm not spending $300 to get that. I have it in so many different formats.
We could make a shootout. We could make a shootout of some Crime of the Century. I have that, and I have the UK tone, and I have the. So if you at some point we want.
Well, we still have at some point before the end of this show. We're going to go till 2:00 Pacific Standard. We'll have to do our results of the shootout, Patrick. Now I know on the poll, I think next time we can only do one song because the poll confused people. So they didn't see there was two songs. So the first poll only had I don't know how many votes on it, and the second one had almost 70 votes. What do you have there? Let me just hang on.
That's a test pressing cut for me for my record by Salt Mastering back in 2008.
Oh, cool.
This is literally lacquer.
The acetate.
Yeah.
Now is that larger than the regular? Maybe do they make it larger than no. It's just the same size. Yeah.
No, the lacquer would be, but this is it's what we'd call a dub plate, where it's basically a lacquer, but it's regular size, and you can cut both sides of it. Right, it's a two-sided lacquer, basically, to do like a test press, just to see if the client wants to move forward with plating and all that kind of stuff.
I was lucky enough. I had Miles Scholl on my program, and he sent me some acetates, George. And now an acetate has an interesting odor to it. It's got a very strong odor to it.
It smells fantastic, man.
Yeah. But an acetate, I mean, it's like sniffing that glue when you're a kid, that type of thing. But an acetate, how many times?
Like getting a test in junior high.
Yeah. How many times could I basically listen to that acetate now before it sort of diminishes its sound quality?
I just played mine a couple months ago just because somebody asked me to, and it still sounded all right. It's a little dull. Lacquer wants to go back to flat, but it can hold up, Don't
they say you get like 10 to 20 plays on those, and then they kind of start to
supposedly. I mean, I've only played this maybe a total of 6 or 7 times entirely.
You should let me record it.
And it smells fantastic, man.
My acetate has it doesn't smell terrible, but it's a very strong odor. I mean, it's just definitely different than your vinyl. But you're like, whoa, it's like glue when you're like sniffing that glue. And well, I wasn't.
That's right. Or like a new guitar when it comes out of the case, right? It's the same stuff, right? If you get a Gibson guitar, it's lacquered, right? So it's the same kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Fingernail polish.
So I mean, I think with getting back, I mean, that was fun today having Patrick on. Hopefully they're shipping. Patrick Milligan. It's always fun having you on, Patrick, because everyone comments after that. Patrick, he's always ranting on your show, Westman. I mean, it was so funny.
I've been pretty calm today.
Well, the last show you weren't. I can't remember what you were ranting about. You were upset. What were you upset about last week?
People got mad at me because I didn't like Now and Then. They got really upset that how can you not like Now and Then by the greatest band ever? If you like Now and Then, that's great. It just didn't really move my radar, you know.
But, Jefferson, are you like you're a Beatles guy? You buying the Now and Then stuff? And the
Beatles. All that did, I was talking to George about this, but all that really did is make me want to go find some 73 originals of the Blue and Red album.
Yeah.
And supposedly the 2014 E versions are cut from tape. Personally heard them, and they're easy enough to find too, but it seems like the originals are plentiful.
Which I have. I've got the red and blue, the originals from 1970.
You've got it.
Cuts, so they sound great.
Yeah.
What do you have there?
It's sitting out on the doorstep right now.
Oh,
Go bring it in. Go bring it in, George. I want to see Patrick's reaction of the unboxing.
Pretty awesome. I've never done an unboxing.
I will say, but my first foray into the red and blue albums were via 8-track tape that my cousins had. So, you know, I wore out the 8 tracks, and I can't tell you where the songs were cut, but there were a bunch of them. And, you know, it is, if you know nothing about the Beatles, whoever those people are, I mean, it's a great foray into both periods.
I mean, that was my first, you know, stroll into the Beatles was the red and the black when I was younger. You know, I got the red and the black, and that's how I first got really in. I mean, I'd heard the Beatles on the radio, but I mean, those are the first records.
And that's how we talked. And we talked about that. That's how I think. I mean, those 2 albums really sold well for the Beatles, made them a lot of money, and that's a big introduction because 10 years before that, these people. What's this?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just got a private message from someone. The original Beatles suck. No one wants those. Ignore them. Get the new one's awesome. Okay, sorry.
Who is that person? I'll buy all their old Beatles.
But the original Blue and Red from '73. I mean, think about it, right? That was their introduction to the Beatles because maybe they were too young to see them in '64 when they came to Ed Sullivan, or you know. So that was like, oh my gosh, the Blue album is amazing, or the Red album. So I get it was a new generation, just like George will argue me and say it's not. But this again could be a new generation of Beatles fans. Now that they've remastered them or reimaged them or whatever.
But now they're going to be stuck with these remixes and think those are what they really sounded like, and that's not what they sounded like.
George got kidnapped. Is George all right? Did he get kidnapped?
His dog is not happy. Oh, there it is.
Okay.
So we're doing an unboxing. No one's ever seen an unboxing of a Beatles album before. Hang on, George.
Especially not this one.
Did the dog do anything weird when I was away?
Did a couple of pirouettes. Yeah, did some
throw on my records.
Get some helicopters.
So which band is this, George?
Motley Crue.
Oh wow.
British Skittles.
Captain and Me by the Doobie Brothers. It's a test pressing from Rhino.
So it was brutal. They just left it laying on the sidewalk, basically.
Oh no.
Oh.
In the sun. All right. So I ordered this from the Beatles website the day they announced it, and just got it right now.
Well, George, I did the same thing from Canada. I haven't gotten mine yet, so there you go.
There's the 7-inch exclusive from the Beatles site. I don't know what color, I can't remember, and the 12-inch black vinyl. So there you go.
Wow, Patrick, PB Thol, what do you think of that? Are you excited? Are you excited?
Also out for delivery by Amazon that I just ordered 2 days ago is the black vinyl box set of the red and blue, and that's going to be here today too, which I ordered 2 weeks after I ordered this. So
so you asked me what I thought about this. My thought about this is that in 4 to 6 months, George Borden will not own either of those because he's downsizing, and those will not last in his collection. That's just my opinion.
Possible.
Well, another year from now, just like, Let It Be, you could buy that box set for $85 on websites. So, I mean, you can wait a year. There you go.
But if
Wow.
people are happy with Now and Then and it brings them pleasure, what do I care? I mean, it's like I'm perfectly happy. I just said it wasn't for me. It just wasn't for me,
Yeah.
I think the story of the song kind of transcends the song itself.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Because of the way they put the technology together, and they basically got to a point with it in the mid-90s and had to stop because they couldn't separate the piano and the voice. Then they eventually figured it out and were able to mix it. And I don't know, to me, watching all that with that beautiful 4K, freshly transferred 4K video footage, just like the Let It Be movie, and that story is very compelling. And I won't lie, I brought a tear to my eye just to kind of see it all come together. But I get, the song is just a song at the end of the day. The Beatles represent so much more than that. So
I finally got to see the video, and I didn't realize I saw the video of Now and Then. I wasn't really that impressed with the whole John AI when he's basically conducting the orchestra there. I don't know if you guys thought that was cheesy. There was pieces of it. I'm like, maybe they went a little bit too far on that.
Yeah,
the artwork looks so much better in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no Hackneyed Diamonds, but
yeah.
Which Hackneyed?
I finally got my Hackney Diamonds. I got the Blue Jays since I'm Canadian. I got the Toronto Blue Jays edition. They got a little.
I
Toronto
still can't
Blue Jays
find that
logo,
record in my hometown. In my
logo
town.
on the top left, and it's white vinyl, Jefferson. It's and it doesn't sound that good. I don't know. Mine doesn't sound good.
West Coast rivalry: San Francisco Dodgers versus the LA Giants.
Way to go.
Darren, I am getting Lamb Lies down on Broadway, Darren, and I do have Selling England by the Pound. So,
okay, Patrick. Okay, so Jefferson and George, if you had a chance, you saw on my poll, we had on the community section of my website, we're doing 2 Dire Straits blind shootouts. We know we're big into blind shootouts, and what am I supposed to call my blind shootouts? What type of bias is it, Jefferson?
It's
confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias is what it is.
There you go. So this gets rid of the confirmation bias.
Whatever we'll call it the Westman bias. How's that?
Oh God, the Westman bias. So Patrick, we did. Well, you go ahead. You tell us which ones we did, and
okay. So
aren't we supposed to guess before he tells us the
okay,
answer?
fine.
Hang on.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we did the Sultans of Swing, and we did Down to the Waterline off of Dire Straits' first album. There were four different sources, so I'm not going to tell you which ones. So y'all can guess real quick, and then we'll get to the reveal.
Jefferson, you start on Sultans of Swing. 8th. Tell us your favorite to least favorite then.
Okay. So I got thwarted by the technology, so I only listened to Down by the Waterline, all 4 versions. So apologize in advance, but my notes are, and I'm probably going to pick the MP3 as the best, but we'll see. So A, I thought was a wide sound stage, strong low end. B, I felt was more punchy, maybe compressed, but a little bit less projection in the room. There was more congestion kind of in the center. Also less edgy, more rolled off. And then I have bass a little mushy with the question mark. Like the bass was just kind of congealed, or I don't know. Mushy is not the right term, but it was a non-natural bass state. Okay, C was the tighter and then have tightest bass yet. Maybe slightly less full than A, but more natural. Very uncongested center. All instruments are clear and distinct. Widest sound stage. And then D was a little bit veiled. I always put muffled. Bass was super strong. Imaging not as distinct as C. More squeezed together, but can hear the individual instruments, but less room between them. So my favorite was C.
And okay. George, your turn.
I approached this totally differently. I can just remember what I picked. I picked A of Sultans and B of Waterline because I think that they came from the same source. At least that's what it sounded like to me. The bass wasn't too flabby like it was blown out on some of the other ones, and the vocal was sort of up front, and so was the guitar kind of clear. And that was I picked those 2. So I don't know. Once I deleted the other ones out of my mind. So A, Sultans, B, Waterline.
All right, and then Patrick, can you go to the poll? Just tell us where we're at with the poll, so I can get.
Okay, so the poll is for Sultans. Sample A has 48%. Sample B has 11%. Sample C has 4%. Sample D has 37%. Down to the waterline, sample A has 31%, then 10% for sample B, 10% for sample C, and 50% for sample D. So do you want to give your opinion there, Mr. Westman, before I reveal?
No, I want you to reveal.
Oh, he's afraid.
And then you're going to tell everybody? Okay.
I'm not afraid. I don't have my notes with me. The dog.
I see how it is. Now the Westman confirmation virus is alive and well.
Right.
There we go.
We got Tapegate, Westman bias. Oh my God. Okay.
Okay. So we're going to go from Sultans of Swing. We're going to go from last to first. In fourth place, sample C was the UK first pressing that I recorded with an Art 9 moving coil cartridge. In second place was sample B, which is the Mobile Fidelity, cut by I guess who cut that? Bernie cut that? Who cut? Did Chris Bellman cut that?
Which one? Mobile Fidelity. You said
Craig Wunderlich.
Krieg Wunderlich.
Krieg. Okay. In third place is sample D, which is the UK half-speed master, which is this one right here. This is the half-speed master.
I just ordered that one.
Yes. And number one is sample A, which is surprisingly for me, the 2012 box set cut by Bernie Grunman. So that was the one that was the overwhelming choice in Sultans of Swing. Down to the waterline, we have a tie for third. That's between B and C, which still is the MoFi and the UK Art 9. The UK first pressing cut by the Art 9. Sample A is the 2012 box set cut by Bernie Grunman, and sample D again is the half-speed master. So and at 50%.
D was the half-speed master,
Yes.
but not the MoFi.
Not the MoFi. This was an 80s cut. Cut by Strawberry, actually. It's Strawberry Mastering.
Strawberry half-speed.
So I will give you my opinion. My opinion is that, and I only I didn't really listen to Sultans too much because I can't listen to that song anymore. But down to the waterline, to me, sample A, the bass was so bloated for me that it just really just wasn't even a contest for me. That's why I was so shocked that A won in Sultans of Swing. But it just goes to show that everyone's tastes are different. And you just never know. And so there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just a matter of it's just a fun exercise of me showing you what it sounds like on my system, and then you guys making your choice. It doesn't mean how these records sound on your system or anything, or your ears or anything. It's just a little exercise to show you that sometimes you never know, what you hear is horrible. Maybe isn't that horrible, Yeah.
So I wonder, Jefferson, if you had the records in front of you and then played each one, knowing which the source was, if your choice would be different. The Westman bias.
I think that happens a lot, personally.
I think so.
It really does.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I can make an argument both ways, but I think if you're really attuned to listening, and you close your eyes and you listen to point A to point B, and then you do the same thing on pressing X versus Y. I think for the most part, you can give an honest analysis if you're objective. But yeah.
But if you've got a Steely Dan Asia that you paid $250 for, and then you've got another one, and you've heard everybody tell you it's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah.
You've got another one that you paid $5 for that was cut at the Columbia Santa Maria plant, has the nice AB little one in the circle, means it's the first press. And all of a sudden you're going, I spent this much money on this Asia. It damn sure better be better than this one.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had that with equipment, man. I didn't pay $5,000 for it, but I bought a $5,000 cartridge, and it was horrible. I mean, I tried to convince myself that it was the best thing. It was an Audiophile A90. And I tried to tell myself over and over again that this was not a bad sounding cartridge. It was okay. And it wasn't. I had to finally just tell myself that, this is not good. Cut your losses, sell it, and get something else, But I literally wanted it to be better.
Yeah.
George.
One of the things that I do when I get a new record is I don't right out of the box compare it. But I said, no, I don't. I just want to listen to these four and see what's what,
Just so everyone knows too, the MoFi one is not a half speed mastered cut either. Just so everyone knows, that was full speed.
Well, the only reason I brought that up, Steve, was that in my notes, I had a question mark about D. Was it maybe the MoFi? Because it was the super strong bass, but not terribly mushy. And I've noticed that Krieg's mastering, I noticed that a lot. He tends to have super strong bass, especially if it's like a silver label or not an original master recording for some reason. That's
Love Over Gold would be another good one to do, because Robert Ludwig cut that, Brian Kipper cut that, and then you've got the Bernie cut, and you've got the MoFi cut.
The MoFi cut would be interesting because it's got the plagent process on it too by Jamie Howard. So
right.
That would be very interesting as well.
Yeah.
In terms of what you're saying about Asia, Patrick, I totally get it, and I totally get confirmation bias, and everything you say is valid. However, that album and that version is super strong, and it's with head and shoulders above any other one I listened to. And
what is it about that makes you feel it's head and shoulders? Is it because the high end, the detail is there? Is that what's, because that's what I hear from everybody. Is like they boosted the high end. Everyone says, oh, I can hear this, I can hear that. But to me, it loses some of the fatness and the mids that I really like. You know, for the sake of all these high ends and the cymbals and stuff like that, I don't need the sizzle. I really don't. I like the fatness and thickness of Asia as an album. You know, that's just,
and I start to listen to other things too, like Down to the Waterline. There's that bit about 2 minutes in where there's a clear phaser put on the guitar over, you know, in the right channel. And it's like, I just listened to that. And if that gets mushy and sort of smeared and it's not clear to me, then I kind of I stop thinking about the top end and the bottom end. I'm just like thinking about the imaging and whether those effects came across that I was used to hearing and the way they mesh.
Placeholder as well, if you don't want to spend the $150.
Or just be a little patient and buy an original.
Just go get the AB Columbia Santa Maria at your record store for $19, hopefully, or less.
I see that AB 106 for under $50 in clean condition all the time. It's not as ubiquitous as whipped cream or anything like that, but
it's there. It's there, yeah.
What's your dog's name, George?
Chloe, but we refer to her as Cho-Cho.
Oh wow. we just got a huge drop off. Apparently they're saying the stream has crashed and frozen. I have no idea why. We're fine here. So that's really strange.
We're not frozen.
Yeah. Well, the viewers went way down. It's like everyone just got off the stream. I've noticed. I mean,
I'm sorry. Was it my rant against Asia that caused everyone to leave? I offended everybody that bought Asia. Oh my God.
As soon as we talked about Asia, I thought when George went and did his unboxing of Now and Then, we were going to get crashed down. But I mean,
you're going to get massive viewers.
I think we broke the internet just now. We just had a huge kick down in viewership here for some reason.
Now they're back.
Now they're back. Okay, there you go. I have no idea. The internet broken in Canada? No, it's working fine for us here. Now they're back. I see you back up. That's really weird. That happened last week, George. You remember when I had Miles on? All of a sudden, it just kicked me off. And the same thing happened to Michael 45 at his stream.
I'm starting to think that there's some stuff going on with StreamYard because
DSD, it's a DSD signal.
You know, like today, for instance, no problems, but you've seen me drop off yours a couple of times, like in the middle of an hour. And yesterday, me and Nick and John Bandy were just talking. And I got kicked out like 8 times and had to come back in.
Okay, so it wasn't just the Westman stream because you're getting pissed off at me last time.
I was. I was holding you personally responsible.
I know, you did. You texted me afterwards. It had nothing to do with me, George. Jeez.
Why did you do that?
I know. But I think it might be Salina, Kansas. They might be doing some censoring of our program.
I still think StreamYard went to DSD and is not all analog anymore. So I think that's
DSD half-speed mastered
at
RTI. There it is. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. I mean, I knew what the releases were for the Rhino for obviously a while now. I was surprised. I thought they would do something maybe a little bit more, I don't know about mainstream, but the Doobie Brothers Captain and Me is a big album. I think it's because of the 50th anniversary year. I think that's why they're releasing it. But I will remind everyone as well that, you know, Patrick Milligan is a huge fan of music like us. So he's listening to what we're looking for or what we want. And yeah, we just hope that, you know, we see those titles in the future over the next 6 to 8 months. That's for sure. Cool. Tell us something good, George. Mazzy is asking you.
I don't know. What's good? What's good in the hood?
Yeah,
I don't, you know, it's all good.
Apparently, according to Patrick Peavy, though, he doesn't like the Rhino hi-fis. He's not happy about those.
I love the Cars Rhino hi-fi. I absolutely adore it. I just think their choices that they've made since then have been a little bit dubious in my opinion. You know,
no pun intended. Dubious.
Yeah, dubious. Yes.
Dubious. So we've got a few minutes, and I know at the top, Jefferson, this is your inaugural sort of time here on the roundtable, and on your left shoulder, you've got an interesting, and I love this album.
What's behind it is interesting. Is that a Studer tape?
I'm putting you full screen. Can you talk a little bit about this? This is what I call the tape, like the tape rabbit hole. And this is why Jefferson's not buying shit right now, because he spent how much on that?
He's not eating either.
It was 700.
Woo!
Yeah. And you know, apparently master tapes have gone from 500 to 1,000 now. No one told me. This one was 700. It's it's definitely a boutique item. You're not going to build a catalog of tapes, but if you like this album and you're a fan of just great sound, there's absolutely no way to best this. I put on the record a couple times before I got this last week, and basically got the tape machine aligned, and I'm going to be doing a more extensive video beyond the unboxing just of how it sounds. But suffice it to say, despite the cliche, it's like Julian Welch and David Rawlings are in the room with you. The acoustic guitars just project right out into the room. You can hear the harmonies intertwine around each other. It's very simply recorded, guitar, banjo, vocals, but it just lends itself so well to tape. And I think, one of the reasons this and also the White Stripes tape was so successful was because both of these artists started at the beginning thinking about tape. Most things that been recorded in the 90s, early 2000s, was all digital by then. And not to get into the whole tape versus digital discussion, but if your intent is such that it's going to be on tape, then you have the free ingredients to make an amazing sounding recording down the line, which is what this is. I mean, you can see on the back.
Hey Jefferson, do us a favor and keep it away from that speaker from now on, dude. Just don't set it on that speaker. It gives me the willies, man. It's probably shielded, but don't put it up there. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's that's the one thing about my space. I was telling you, it's a studio living room, and so I have to make compromises. But I've had a demagnetizer in here, and I've checked it. There's no effect from that speaker. It's well taken. Thank you. I was just going to show on the tape box. This is a reproduction of the one they actually used, but it has all the track times, Ampex ATR-102. Just everything about this is high quality and well done. And
do you think for $700 you could get them to play in your living room?
Probably less. If I that. But yeah, for me, it sounds really, really nice. I'll have more information on it in a later video. But
is that like a Studer deck behind you? Is that like a Studer? What is that?
It's an Ampex ATR-102. So the big ones you see are like the Studers, more in Europe, and then the Ampex was the master machine, mostly used in America.
So here's a question for you. If I wanted to go down the tape machine rabbit hole and not having one before and have sort of a budget, what would you recommend me starting with?
I actually have a whole video on that, but I would recommend.
I'm helping out here, man. I know that. So if you want to go to Tublandia's YouTube channel, it's a great, and you got a lot of views on that.
So how are those cut, Jeff? Are they are they a 1-to-1 copy from the master?
I'm sorry, Patrick. Go ahead.
Are those a 1-to-1 copy from the master?
These are
like what, 15 IPS?
Yeah. So the master was done at 30 IPS. Okay. And +3. So they took that master, and they had a bank of machines, I think 4 or 5, and they matched the impedance to the other machines, and then it's a one-off. So that original master tape was used to make this tape. Okay, so typically, just like with records or other productions, so like they'll take the master tape and they'll make a production master, right? And they typically take from 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch and faster speed, with the argument that, oh, it's a half generation, not a full generation. You can make arguments about that. But anyway, so they make a production master, and then that's used to make the tapes. Whereas with this one, it's made directly from the master. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of cool. I mean, in terms of superlatives, you know, you hear everything. The noise floor is just vacant. And I've never heard more full bass, better dynamics. It's just, you know, I could tell you about the frequency response and talk to I'm blue in the face, or I could just like let you guys hear it, and then you could hear it. I mean, to a certain extent, I could try and record it, but even then, it doesn't capture the same as being in the room. So anyway, not for everyone. I can't necessarily recommend it for everyone, but if you're willing to learn how to use the machines and can afford the tapes, etc., it's the best you'll ever hear. But the thing is, Steve, to circle back to your question, it's not ridiculously expensive. There's a lot of tape machines that are like all blinged out, you know, and they have lots of, looks like a Macintosh, and, you know, squirrely, frilly lines on it and gold-plated parts, and none of that affects the sound quality. But any good, reasonable studio machine or prosumer machine, like my favorite is like the Atari, you know, you can pick those up. Sorry, George, but you can pick them up all day long for under $2,000.
As long as you're talking about an MX5050.
MX5050, yeah, not a MTR, but the MX5050 will do IEC and NAB, and it will play master tapes, and it's also got a 1/4 track head, so you can play like old school production tapes as well. So it's like the Swiss Army knife of tape machines. It's ugly as sin, but you know, it's not as sexy as some of the other ones, but it will do everything you need. And you could get a machine, get it completely gone through by a tech, and get a collection of 4 or 5 tapes for under $5,000, right? And a lot of people will spend $5,000 just on a phono stage. So I know it's all perspective and what your priorities are, but it's not astronomically expensive to get into.
But once you get the equipment, what are your choices for music at that point? I mean, you're not going to get Steely Dan Asia master tape. You're not going to get, you know, you're not going to get those kind of titles. You're going to get very boutique type titles. Am I way off base here?
You can also make your own recordings though too, right? So you can also take LPs and put them onto.
I did that. I mean, that was. I mean, I did that a lot. I mean, that's how I got introduced into
Before that goes, I just wanted to answer a question that went by real quick. It was Whoville was talking about shield. He asked about shielding when I was referring to the monitors. Shielding just basically means that you put a component around the device to stop electromagnetic or radio type interference. Some monitors are shielded so as they're not susceptible to interference. And cables are a common thing to have shielding, so you can do long cable runs and not incorporate noise or RF or collect things along the way on a long cable run. That's all. It's like our Faraday cage, right? Where you build, you know, copper.
Yeah, you do that. Around. You do that on amateur radios. They put those cages in there to stop the EMI, RFI,
right.
Whatever the fuck you call it.
And then, Darren, it's Otari, not Atari. Atari would be a 2600, which is also a fine piece of gear. But
so we're at the top of the hour. We're going to leave it at this. I have, you know, obviously being from Canada. Yes.
Oh, I just wanted to circle back to Patrick's question about availability of media. Mm-hmm. It's boutiquey. It's sparse, but it's not near as bad as it was 10 or 15 years ago. There's a company out of Italy that's doing a lot of master tapes. The White Stripes just came out with their tape. Dave Rawlings will hopefully issue more tapes. But you're not going to get the top 500 Rolling Stone titles on master tape. It's just
you know that going in. So yeah, people that do that, they know that going in.
as transparent about that stuff as I can be. But there are things out there that you can buy and have a well-rounded collection. I mean, Horch House has some great of those, like those milestone jazz, some of the Joe Henderson titles, and you know, there's things popping up every day. So it's definitely a labor of love. But if you get it, you get it, and you no worries if not. It's just one of the things where it's like it goes to 11 audiophile wise.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, we'll leave it at that. I've got Tom Port and Jeff Edgers on Friday on the roundtable, so that'll be interesting. We're sort of doing like the quest for the best sound. We'll sort of have a discussion about that. So watch that one this Friday at 1 p.m. I always like to have Mr. Port on. That's very interesting. Of course, Jeff Edgers is from the Washington Post, so he'll be on the roundtable this Friday 1 p.m. I'm excited about that one as well. Guys, thank you again for all this. Rhino High Fidelity, Crossings, Herbie Hancock, Captain and me. Doobie Brothers. Patrick's all excited. He won't be able to sleep the night. Thursday night, he's not sleeping. He's doing it all night. He's going to wait and press that press that confirm button to get his.
I'm going to hit refresh on my browser just to make sure I get the first one.
All right, gentlemen, I'm out of here. Have a good one. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, folks.
All right.